Welcome to the Jonathan Van Bilsen Show, featuring lively, in-depth conversation with compelling guests from our community. And here is our host, Jonathan Van Bilsen.
Thank you and welcome to our show. My guest today is Brent Herrington of Herrington's Quality Butchers in Port Perry. We're going to find out all about Brent, the meat industry, and share some Christmas ideas. Brent, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am fantastic, Jonathan. Thank you very much for having me.
This is a very busy time for you, I'm sure, with Christmas just around the corner and a lot of people wanting to get their turkeys and hams and rabbits and ducks and whatever else people eat at Christmas time, correct?
Absolutely. It's a little bit crazy, but that's okay because that's what we live for.
Right. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about Brent Herrington. You've been at this for a while. You're located on Queen Street West, as some of us like to call it, the trendy part of town. How long have you been in that location now?
This location, we've been here about 14 years.
Okay. So before that, this is your second location on Queen, right?
Correct. I was a few doors to the west earlier on, and then we moved to this location, which is bigger, a little bit more customer friendly. I know
I've had the pleasure of visiting your store many times, and once I got a tour of the big freezer in the back, which kind of scares me because I did see a murder mystery on TV where somebody gets locked in there.
Yeah.
But you built that freezer yourself, or you arranged to have it built? It's customized for your store, is that correct?
That is correct. Everything that's in our store has been custom made to fit the current location. So everything that's in there was designed to fit the rooms that were there. It wasn't a big open clean slate, if you will. So we kind of took little rooms and made that room a cooler and that room a freezer, and so on. And
it worked well for you, obviously.
It's been working very well for us, yes.
So Brent Herrington was born on a farm. Now I immediately assume that if you're born on a farm, being a butcher is sort of like a natural. But it turns out that the farm you were on was a dairy farm, correct?
That is right. I was born into a dairy farm family, exactly.
I may look like I know a lot about farming, but I really don't. I'm assuming you have to get up early in the morning, milk the cows. How many cows would there have been?
It was a very small operation by today's standards, although it was my parents' pride and joy. Mm-hmm. We only milked about 40 head of cattle.
Okay.
But when you are dairy farming, the objective is to get cattle that are from your own bloodline, and when you do that, your cattle have a prefix of the farm.
Okay.
So our farm's prefix was Alshire, Alan and Sharon.
Right.
And almost all of our milking cows had the prefix of Alshire.
And that kind of guarantees a consistency in product and so forth?
That's like creating your own legacy, if you will.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, sadly, I understand when you were 13 years old, your father passed away, and there was a major decision to be made. Did you decide to, did you want to go into the dairy farming business, or did you want to pursue something else? And I get that that's a decision that has to be made, but at 13 years old, that's got to be pretty major.
It was. I didn't realize it at the time just how much of a major decision it would be. I did choose to not do it.
Right.
Things progressed in life, and there are things that have made me a better man over time.
Because you always wanted to be a chef, right? Going
chef
back
was a big part of it, yes.
Right.
There was a long period where I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I even struggle with my own kids these days when I remember that time where I really didn't know what they want to do. And they're kind of staring at that right now. And
I get that.
Reflect on that a little bit.
And it's not just the fact that you were 13. It was very traumatic what you went through. And on top of that, you're living in a small town of 3,800 people.
Exactly.
And I'm assuming that, dairy farming was pretty well 90% of what you knew.
Oh, it was probably 100%. Yeah, we had a lot of good neighbors and people to get us through that rough time.
Right.
Yeah.
So you sold the farm and your family moved into Port Perry, correct?
Yes.
And Port Perry was, because it was bigger than Campbellford, it was a natural progression. Is that the idea?
Yeah, kind of. It was definitely a bigger town for me.
Right.
I finished the last little bit of high school there, where I met my wife.
Here at Port Perry.
Here in Port Perry.
I knew that. I knew that. I've got your wife, your Jacqueline.
Correct.
And her last name is Griffin, right? Now, is she part of the Griffin Empire from the Skugog lumber?
No, she's Griffin.
Okay.
E-N, so it's a different family altogether.
Okay. So we're not going to see like roast beef and lumber pretty soon.
No.
And so you finished high school. Now, just before we get to the your married life, which is pretty well your business life as well, you also had a couple of part-time jobs. One was in Blackstock, if I'm not mistaken, at Pine Ridge Packers, correct?
Yes, that is correct. I actually started there in high school through the co-op program.
Okay.
I remember that vividly. I went out there and worked at Pine Ridge.
Right.
We did a lot of processing of animals for local farmers.
Okay.
I remember my co-op teacher coming out to see me one day, and I was actually working on the abattoir floor.
Right.
And it's not a very pleasant job, although a necessary part of what needs to be done.
Pleasant as in it's messy, it's hard
messy,
work.
It's dirty,
yeah.
It's dangerous,
right.
and it's not for the faint of heart.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, I have trouble when I catch a fish and trying to take it, the hook out of the fish, so I can fully understand what goes on to a degree. And when you say it's dangerous, is that because of the cutting tools and things like that?
There's a lot going on. There's a slippery floor. There's knives on your side. There's other people using knives. There is animals in there that don't necessarily care to be there, so it's a little bit dangerous.
The job was something you enjoyed, or was it something? Well, obviously you must have enjoyed it to some degree because you're still in the business now. But was it a good training ground for you?
It was a fantastic training ground for me. I did set the groundwork for what I am today, although I didn't know it at the time.
Right.
It was something that I found myself excelling at.
Okay.
And I think what kind of captivated me to pursue it is something that I found myself good at, enjoyed, but there was a large amount of growth available for what I could do. Right.
And now the question is, in the area that you lived, in the Port Perry area, it was not, there wasn't a lot of going on in the meat industry at that point, from a retail perspective, was there?
No, not in that, where I had started in that particular end of it, there wasn't a lot of retail at all.
You also played rugby?
I did, yeah.
But, do you still do that, or is that that's a thing of the past?
Oh, it's a thing of the past now. I often think about it, but I don't.
Oh, it's a great experience. It's fun. It's rough. I mean,
it was fantastic. I loved every moment of it. I had a true appreciation for the game.
Well, being Dutch, soccer was in my blood. I did try rugby for about 6 minutes, and and that was the end of that. So then after school, you went to Windcrest.
Correct.
Right. Now, I'm not familiar with it. It's a local meatpacking firm.
It is.
Right?
Just south of Port Perry, just south of Prince Albert.
Okay. All right. And you started full-time there, correct?
I did. They took me on full-time once my co-op placement had ended.
Okay.
I continued on the same abattoir end of the job.
Right.
It did have a little bit more of a culturally diverse clientele there. We did a lot of Muslim products. We did a lot of Italian products, different holidays, different things.
That would be great training, though, wouldn't it?
It was really great training, and one of the things I love to this day is the diversity of food in general. And I believe that's where it started. Okay. I got to know a lot of people there, and I got into different aspects like delivering.
Right. Okay.
I would get to see, that's where a little bit more retail came in. I got to see a lot of other stores, a lot of other ethnic backgrounds, and really interesting, really cool people. And
would your area of delivery have been North Durham, or did you deliver all over Durham, Toronto?
It was pretty much Toronto, Toronto.
Yeah. Okay.
There was a large Italian community that we dealt with, being Italian-owned business.
Okay.
There was some Greek people and some Muslim customers, and I got to travel all over the place.
Right.
They always fed me foods of their culture, which I absolutely loved. So
nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, when we first moved to Port Perry, and we're going on 30 some odd years ago, shortly after we moved here, I remember this fellow with a very, very strong English accent, Reg Cook, opening up a small butcher shop on Queen Street. And if I understand correctly, you worked for him for a number of years, correct? 4 or 5 years?
Reg was one of the customers at Windcrest when I was working there.
Okay.
He would purchase product from them, and I got to know him through my job there.
Okay.
And I got to the point in time where Reg would call Windcrest and say, I can't make it, but you know what I'm looking for. Could you please set it aside for me?
Okay.
So I built a bit of a relationship.
Good relationship there.
Yeah, exactly. And that worked out very well.
And then you went to work for Reg, did you? Or
in the evenings, I would go work for Reg. I never really got paid at that point.
Okay.
just had a true love for what I was doing.
Right, and you're learning too, right?
I was learning lots.
And you're also, I mean, he's mentoring you. You're his protege.
Yes.
So when he sold the business 4 or 5 years later, around 1999, is that right? Somewhere in that area?
Yes.
It was only natural that you would buy it.
Yes. Yes.
So 99 must have been a really spectacular year for you, because you got married, you bought the business, you started the business, and you were all of what, 24 years old or something?
24 years old, yes.
Yeah, that's a lot to take on. That is a lot to take on.
I figured if she stayed with me through all of that, she was really willing to put up with me through just about anything. So
that's right. And she was a dental assistant?
Correct.
And then you had a couple of children.
I did.
Which is which is fantastic. You bought a house as well that same year.
Exactly.
There's no holding you back. And then just as things are getting really, really hectic in your life, you decide to go out and buy a Harley.
Yeah, a bit of an early midlife crisis.
Right.
But that I did have that for a number of years. I had a couple of them.
Right. And you probably spent more time cleaning than you did actually riding it, right?
Exactly. That was the downside of having a 2-minute commute to work, is by the time the bike got warm, it turned off again. The point of my life for Harley Davidson's kind of ended when kids came around.
Right. I can imagine. But your kids are getting older now, right? So
yes.
Time to. You still have the bikes?
I don't anymore. No.
But they are out there somewhere, so it's not.
They are. Recently, a customer came to me the other day and told me that he had recently purchased a modified motorcycle, and he looked at the ownership of it, and my name was on it. So
really,
it's been customized, and it's going to come back this summer. I'm going to see it. He said he's going to bring it in to show me.
Oh, that'd be great.
That'd be amazing.
Maybe take it for a ride.
I hope he'd let me take it for a rip, but that's one thing you don't ever ask.
No.
Yeah.
But you never know. Or maybe just go to your local Harley Davidson dealership and just, because
with the family in mind, we've kind of switched from motorcycles to convertibles now. So.
Okay. Convertible's not bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
I want to be there when you start to play rugby again, though. So most of the goods that you purchase for resale, you buy locally. Is that correct?
As much as I can get my hands on, yes.
Now, I know at one time, and this is a few years ago, I remember I walked in and you were selling bison meat or buffalo meat, which you bought from the fellow up on the island. I forgot his name, the Buffalo Ranch on the island.
Yeah.
But Ash, that's right, Ash.
Yes.
Ash Arani or something.
Yes.
Yeah, and I do apologize for not knowing that name. Do you still carry
bison is something
like
that has really taken off lately. I have built an amazing relationship with Thunder Ridge Bison in Uxbridge.
Okay.
They have a really nice place there, and the owners, Brian and Michelle, are just fantastic people.
Okay.
They do have a small store on their actual farm.
Right.
They're open on Saturdays now and again, not all the time.
Okay.
But I do purchase my product right from them.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's very low in cholesterol, right? It's a healthy meat to eat.
It's a very healthy meat. One of the biggest customers for Thunder Ridge is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Is that right?
It is.
Wow, I did not know that. It's interesting. And other products that you carry, you would buy as local as you possibly can?
Exactly. There is Cedar View Farms, which is an elk farm on the second concession, and Old Simcoe in Port Perry.
You sell elk as well?
I just recently purchased an animal from Jeremy there, and I've got another one coming soon.
What other sort of exotic products do you carry?
I think what I've discovered in the last while is that people have made a return to old school cooking. Okay. Especially since the pandemic's happened and all these people have all this time at home. It's been a return to old school thinking.
Excellent, excellent. Brent, we're gonna hold that thought. We're gonna come back after these messages and continue our conversation. Hello, I'm Jonathan Van Bilsen for Photos and Travel, where we bring the world to your doorstep. During times like this, when traveling is next to impossible, a great way to see the world is through my television show, Photos and Travel, featured on the Rogers Television Network and YouTube. I've had the privilege of traveling to over 100 countries, and I've written dozens of articles about different locales and some of the experiences I've encountered. Together, we'll explore the four corners of the globe. Join me as we follow elephants in Africa's Etosha Pan and walk in the history of Jerusalem. We have an entire episode dedicated to the country of Sri Lanka, formerly known as Ceylon, where we explore tea plantations and discover all kinds of wildlife. What better way than to discover the museums of Paris than from the comfort of your own living room? or watch a Mardi Gras parade in New Orleans. And of course, one of the most memorable episodes is the city of Petra in Jordan and walking 30,000 steps from one end to another. In one of the shows, we visit the surrounding area of London and walk among the Druids and the Kings. And of course, being Dutch, my favorite city was Amsterdam, complete with windmills, canals, and bicycles. Join me on the Rogers Network or visit YouTube and search for Jonathan Van Bilsen's Photos and Travel. I'll be your tour guide, and together we'll explore this wonderful planet we live on. Welcome back. My guest today is Brent Herrington, an entrepreneur who has combined his ambition as well as his talent to create a very, very enterprising business, Herrington's Quality Butchers in Port Perry. Brent, welcome back. Your business is fantastically busy. Whenever I walk in there, there are people buzzing. It's amazing. So let's talk about your employees. I know you have a number of them now.
Yes.
What are you up to?
I think we're up to about 21 now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I like any business, it's the employees that make it, right?
I have to tell you, this is definitely not a one-man show. My wife has been by my side through this whole time, thick and thin. The kids have been fantastic and supportive, even though they didn't see me a lot in the beginning.
Yep.
And all of my employees, I couldn't have done it without. I can't do it without them.
Right. It's like it's a good family. In fact, one of your folks, his daughter does a podcast and called me, and I did a 1-hour show being interviewed by her, which was great, but being on the receiving end of an interview was something that I wasn't too familiar with, but it was good.
Used to having control of that kind of thing.
I know. So I wanted to touch on the issues that we're having now with supply chain, with products being very expensive, not just the meat industry, a lot of products, but specific to your side of the business. Has COVID had an effect on the supply chain?
COVID has definitely had a very large effect on our industry. It has presented almost an opportunity for a lot of small butchers. It's given people the ability to go seek out smaller specialty-like stores. Mm-hmm. I am very fortunate to be in a position that COVID has done us okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, as far as the supply chain goes, yes, it has been a bit of a struggle. COVID's been a problem for a lot of places, and even if I don't necessarily purchase from the large places, the ripple effect that happens from these places drives the industry as a whole.
Okay, so take me through it. I know that there were a number of plants out west in Alberta where they had COVID. This is back a year and a half ago, where they had COVID within. They had to shut down.
Yes.
And these are large production plants, right?
The very large production plants out in Western Canada will process up to 4,000 animals a day.
Okay.
So a lot of the world's, because Canada exports probably about 70% of what they kill.
Is that right?
It does. So a lot of the stuff that we process doesn't even stay here, so we need to focus more on keeping it here.
Right.
But when those plants go down with COVID, the one in particular, it is such a busy operation at different ends of the spectrum, it actually took 2 days to stop the production in that plant.
Okay.
Because you're dealing with a perishable product, you can't just necessarily say, we'll deal with that when it comes.
Right.
It's very time sensitive.
And it's from two sides, right? Because the plant is in the middle. You've got the farmers or the ranchers supplying, and then you've got the end product going to the consumers.
Exactly.
And so what happens to all those animals that then can't go into that plant? Do they get dispersed to other?
Well, some of them did get dispersed. A lot of these places would have contracts to fill.
Okay.
So the animals basically just kind of got bigger.
Okay.
And got bigger and bigger, and that created a burden where sometimes you would want a steak about this big.
Right.
All of a sudden it's this big because
that's all there is.
That's just all there is.
Okay. So when those plants started closing, what did these small retailers like yourself, what do you do?
I really like I was mentioning earlier, went back to basics. I could kind of use as much of my craft as I could, buying locally sourced whole animal to supplement a lot of the stuff in our store.
Okay, interesting. Now, the recent rains, if you like, the recent flooding on both coasts must have had some effect on your industry as well. Right?
Definitely from a seafood point of view,
right.
It's harder to get because they're both struggling on both ends of Canada, yes.
Yeah. So, and do you carry seafood as well?
We do quite a bit of fresh salmon every week.
Oh,
we do a fair bit of frozen product as well, scallops and shrimp, and we will actually customize orders for people too if they're looking to get some really nice product for their freezer.
Okay. I understand that you also integrate your products with local businesses, right? There's, I mean, I see you around town still doing the odd delivery here and there at some of the restaurants and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you sell goods to both retail, the restaurant trade, and wholesale as well?
No, we don't do any wholesale at all. We do a little bit of restaurant work in Port Perry. Okay. Just a very little bit. The retail end of our store is basically what we focus on very, very heavily. Okay.
Now, I mean, I love your meat pies. I live for your meat pies. And there was a time when you were supplying schools with meat pies, right?
Yeah, we had a route once or twice a week where we deliver to a few stores and all different kinds of places with meat pies. But that has come to an end now, and we just work on our own.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What sort of production do you have? Like how many meat pies would you do in the course of a week or a month? Are we talking like 100 or?
Oh, no, we're a little bit more than that. Our store is open 5 days a week. We are closed on Sunday, Monday, but we generally work on Sundays and Mondays trying to catch up on the meat pie production.
Okay.
We have 21 different kinds of pies in total.
Wow.
Chicken, turkey, steak and kidney, steak and Guinness.
Turkey cranberry.
Turkey cranberry.
That's my favorite, without question.
Yeah. And we try our best, if we can get things operating flawlessly, to do at least 1,000 pies a day.
Really?
Yes.
My God. So do you bake those as well? Like do you?
Yes, that's all.
So you do everything in-house?
We don't make the pastry.
Right.
But we do everything for the pies in-house.
Really? 1,000 a day?
Yeah. If things go well, yes.
That's a few more than I had imagined.
Yes.
So you're very, very much giving back to the community. I see you all over the place. The big thing is for goodness steak. Is that your big campaign?
Steak, yes.
Which is a great play on words, and your phrases and that are quite humorous throughout the years. I remember a couple of them. But I think I love your Father's Day ad. You know, Dad called and you want steak or something like that, right?
Yep, that one goes every year right in the window. That's my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. So the steak one for the Hospital Foundation, the proceeds going to the Hospital Foundation, why don't you walk us through how that works?
Well, that one started out kind of terrible and really painful for me. I was working on a Thursday afternoon. I felt very uncomfortable. And Thursday night, I ended up in the hospital with an appendicitis. And it had burst. And I ended up with emergency surgery first thing on a Friday morning. In Port Perry, where I went to the hospital, I had to go to Oshawa via ambulance, against my better judgment, for a CT scan.
Right.
And I decided that was just terrible. And Port Perry needs a CT scanner.
Right.
So I embarked on the adventure to help support the hospital in the way we can. And the president at the time was Mark Fletcher, and Mark and I sat down and came up with this idea. I worked out the logistics. I pitched it to the Hospital Foundation.
You were on the board, the Hospital Foundation board at one time, right?
For a little bit, yes. Yeah. One of my mantras in life is if you're going to do anything, do it well.
Right.
And I felt that I wasn't giving them 100%.
Right.
I still very much support the whole foundation. I'm just not on the board anymore.
Right. So you sell the steaks, and the proceeds of the steak goes to the Hospital Foundation?
Correct.
And we're talking a fair bit of dollars here, right? This is not just a...
It's been very successful for us, and people have asked for it year over and again.
Wow. I know it was funny during COVID when you drive through downtown Port Perry, you see people lined up here and there. The coffee shops on either side of you seem to be the biggest recipient of your business because people are lined up, and what else but to buy a coffee.
I felt horrible on Christmas last year, so I went to the coffee shop beside me and asked, just make a big thing of coffee, I'll pay for it,
right,
and then just kind of hand them out. But people are a little bit reluctant at that time during COVID to kind of take free coffee, take their mask off to drink it.
Yep, it's changed a lot. I mean, you know, it's still not, we're not out of the woods by any stretch, but we're certainly a lot further ahead than we were. So you also support minor sports?
Yes. I have kids that are in it. I believe heavily in it. They're our future. I remember when I was a kid going to the butcher shop with my parents, and the gentleman who worked there at that time always had a bucket of lollipops.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to go to the butcher shop to get a lollipop.
Right.
And it always left me with a positive, gave me warm fuzzies.
Right, right.
And that's what gives me warm fuzzies now, is supporting all these local kids playing hockey or various sports.
Which is excellent. It's great. So Christmas is coming, and I assume that the biggest selling product would be turkeys. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a big part of it. That's the centerpiece of a lot of people's meal for sure.
What other meats would people buy for Christmas?
Oh, we do lots of prime rib. We do lots of lamb, all kinds of ham.
Ducks?
There's a fair bit of duck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rabbits? No?
A bit of rabbit.
Yeah. Being Dutch, rabbit is something, we won't go there because it's not that accepted. It's right up there with
I love it.
It's right up there with horse meat, I know.
Exactly.
But
we do just about everything. We do a lot of variations of turkey pieces and such like that. And in the last couple of years, more to adapt to smaller groups.
Okay. And you don't prepare the entire meal, though, right?
No, we just don't have time for that. No.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different side of the business.
Right. That's half the fun when you do it at home.
I know. So when you buy a turkey from Herrington's, it's a fresh turkey.
It is.
Right? And that means it's been, not frozen, obviously, but it's been range-fed?
Correct. It's a free-range, naturally raised, locally raised bird.
All right. And how many turkeys would you go through in a normal Christmas?
Whole birds will do right around the 400 pieces.
Wow. And I take it they're all around 12, 15 pounds in that range somewhere?
Anywhere from 10 to 20, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
You wouldn't get a lot of 50-pound birds.
No. Turkeys naturally don't get a whole lot over 22, 24 pounds.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when people order the turkeys, they must ask you about stuffing and
Lord, they ask me all
like
different
that.
kinds of things. Yeah.
So what's your favorite meal?
A lot of people really love, what's my personal favorite meal? Oh, I'm prime rib all the way.
Are you?
Any butcher all along, which usually tell you the same thing.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But Christmas is turkey time for your family.
Christmas is turkey time. It's only happens a couple times a year. And
right.
It's kind of fun.
And you stuff it yourself?
I don't stuff a bird. I always do my bird empty. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to jam it all in, and then when it's done, you jam it all right back out again. So
interesting.
We always do ours separate, pour the drippings over top, and you still get that great flavor.
Okay. So getting back to the meals and the meal preparation, I'm trying to get some idea what I can do different with my meal this year, you know, with our turkey dinner. Obviously, we're going to do the turkey and so forth. Is there anything any trends that are happening, anything new that's coming along, different vegetables people are going to? Is there anything new in that area?
No, there's not a whole lot new, but what my favorite trick is always to use some really good pork sausage stuffing. And even when I'm cooking the bird, I'll tuck it up underneath the skin and right around the breast meat. I find that keeps it nice and moist and juicy.
Oh, really?
And when you're done, it just lifts right out, and it's a really nice, rich side dish for your dinner.
And fresh turkey cooks less than a...
They cook amazingly fast. People think I'm crazy when I tell them how fast they cook, but they do.
Yeah, it's like something like 15 minutes a pound or something like that.
It's roughly about that,
Yeah, I know. That blew me away, too. I wish I had a Instant Pot that was big enough to... I could do the entire meal in 15 or 20 minutes. Brent, listen, it's been a real pleasure having you here today. I've enjoyed this very much. I am now starving. The typical food that I like from a butcher shop, which is I don't get too often anymore, is the blood pudding, things like that. You know, my uncle used to make great head cheese, and I love that. Mind you, I did have a meal of head cheese and blood pudding not too long ago, and a few hours later my stomach started gurgling. And I think I went to a cholesterol clinic right after that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's been a pleasure. I want to wish you and your family a very, very happy Christmas. All the best.
And the best to you, too.
The information that you've shared with us has been extremely interesting, very informative. Thank you very much, and thank you all for watching today. I'm Jonathan Van Bilsen on behalf of Rogers TV. Stay safe and have a very Merry Christmas. All the best for 2022.